My name is Bill. This is Fretboard Refugee, my YouTube channel. Sorry it's been kind of quiet lately. I've been working a lot of hours, but today is the 11th of December, 2025. And late last night, we passed the 1-year anniversary of me starting to learn guitar. So I am a year in on this journey. And I wanted to do a weekly update and talk about some of the things that I'm working on. And I also want to do kind of a retrospective video where I talk about what that year looked like, what I've learned, what I have yet to learn, what I did right, what I did wrong, and what I might have done differently. So that's going to be a separate video. But just an update on what I've been working on. I've been kind of, honestly, I've been kind of in a rut lately. I haven't had much bandwidth left after work for practicing challenging things. So I have mostly used my practice time to play things I know how to play, mostly strummy stuff, stuff that I am getting fuel from playing rather than stuff that is consuming fuel from learning. So I think I've kept my skills from fading away completely, but I have not really progressed, and I have probably regressed a little, frankly, on the fingerpicking stuff. But I continue to work on Charlie Patton's Pony Blues, the kind of fingerstyle arrangement that I've shown you guys before. A little sloppy, but hadn't really practiced that yet today. I'm doing a lot of kind of just work on my basic chords and timing and strumming. And I've also kind of revisited my scales quite a bit. And I've tried to play them in various different ways, like with different picks, with my fingers. I've tried to kind of create riffs out of my scales. This is one I've played for y'all before, but just kind of using steady bass in E and kind of walking down the higher notes of the E minor pentatonic scale. Kind of use that vamp, and then I'll kind of work on another position, although that has been honestly, that's been pretty challenging because this tends to fall apart right around the D string. But I've been playing with things like that. I've also been playing with my basic kind of walk up and down the scales, you know, without a bass note. So just this sort of thing where you're I've just been trying to do that slowly and easily and let the notes sound out. A lot of times when I try to practice my scales fast, I get this sort of thing right here where you're kind of where it's very staccato. Doesn't really sound too good. So what I've been working on is just slowing way down and doing smooth transitions. Kind of giving each note its due. Just trying to eliminate any of the buzz in there, any of the hesitation, just slowing it way down, getting back to the basics. I've been kind of doing the same thing with chord shapes and finger picking. Like I will pick a chord shape, let's say C, and then I'll work on a pattern, like for instance, the Piedmont roll. So. And you can hear some of the mistakes in there. I'll just take it really slow. Kind of refine that, make sure every note is ringing clearly. Try to make sure the pattern goes smoothly. So really I've been focused on the basics. I don't really have anything new or cool to perform for y'all, but this is where I've been at. I have kind of not progressed with my alternate tuning stuff. I've been working on slide stuff in Open D, but I have not practiced that much, to be honest. I have been experimenting a lot with a very slow Piedmont roll with chord transitions. So I'm gonna count super slow, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've been doing one pick per quarter note here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then switch to a 6-string chord. So it's back to a 5-string. Screwed that up. But like from a C shape to an A minor shape, for instance. Just going for those subtle differences, trying to really hear the note that's different. So it's not very exciting to talk about, but that's where I'm at. Kind of disappointed in myself for not progressing as much as I have been, but there are seasons of life when these things don't come easy. I think we all know that as musicians, as guitarists, that sometimes life gets in the way. And what do we do in those times? We just keep our basics sharp if we can. Got to be patient with yourself. And just kind of stay on one chord until you get like 3 in a row, 3 measures in a row without mistakes. So. Start that one again. 1 measure. 2. Yeah. Let's try that again. Make it a C9. A minor. the next step is going to be trying to actually get those chord transitions at a speed where I'm consistently hitting the beat. I normally practice this with a metronome, and after about 10 minutes of it, I am better at it than I have been right now. So that's something to practice. It's not very exciting. You can also just stay on one chord and see how fast you can get this and keep it smooth. So. And every time I make a mistake like that, I either slow down and try to go back up to speed. Yeah, and eventually you'll hit that place where you either grab the wrong string or have like a weird buzz or a muted string. That's when you slow down and just try it again. You've got to be patient with this. I forget who said it. It might have been, I actually don't remember who said it right now. It'll come to me, but there's this quote that boredom is the great friend of guitarists. And what that means ultimately is that you're gonna make mistakes. They're gonna happen. You've got to kind of own them, work around them, try to do better. And that's just part of this journey. I have also been trying to do that same thing, but with finger picks and thumb picks, just to get used to using those implements. So this is a lot harder for me because it's fairly new. Try to look at my fingers as I'm doing this, because the thing that happens is I tend to, see if they work better on these fingers. I tend to get a drastically different kind of pick attack with my two finger picked fingers here. So that's better. See, I'm a lot slower with these finger picks than I am with just flash, but that's something that teaches you how to think about timing, because there's a difference between how long it takes the sound to come out when you have nothing on your finger and when you have a pick on your finger, because the angle is subtly different, your hand position is subtly different, and moving between those things can kind of teach you, okay, this is how it feels with finger picks. This is when I have to start my stroke to get the sound at the time I want it. And this is the kind of thing that it is very valuable to practice with a very slow metronome in an almost meditative state. This is also the kind of thing that is drastically harder for me when I know I'm being recorded, when I know I'm recording myself, when I know someone is listening. So this is a good thing to do at an easy pace, and then strategically stress yourself with recording or with somebody overhearing. There's a principle there of like inoculating yourself against stress. And it doesn't have to be the stress of like standing up at an open mic with like 20 people looking at you. It can just be the stress of sometimes when I get going, I feel the pressure of, oh, I'm gonna screw up any second now, this feels fast. In that state, what I like to do is just kind of try to breathe through it, go to a slower pace, try to think about my breath, try to automate the picking a little bit, and just stay at that pace until that feeling goes away, then subtly pick it up a little more. A tool I've been using is, it's called Accelerome. It's a web application. You don't need to download anything. You don't need to buy anything. It is a web page that functions through your browser. And what it does is it lets you set the parameters of a metronome speeding up at regular intervals. So what you do is you set the lowest speed, you set the top speed, you set your time signature, and let's say you want to go from, let me see if I can bring it up on my iPad while I'm doing this. So you end up with it's Accelenome, actually, accelerated metronome with time signatures. And your basic screen looks something like this. You input your starting tempo. I'm gonna do 40. Keep it nice and slow. You just put in your max tempo. I'm gonna do 100, which is nice and slow for me. What you increase the tempo by in your regular intervals. Let's make that 5 beats per minute. And time signature, and you decide whether you want to do that after how many bars. So for now, for this demonstration, I'm going to do it after every 4 bars. And I'm going to keep it to Piedmont roll at a slow pace. 2, 3, 4, 1. A lot of these things are more challenging to play at a slow speed than a fast speed, I've discovered. The longer there is between beats, the harder it is to know when it's coming and not anticipate it. So now we're up to 50 beats per minute here. Screwed that up. Now we're at 60. We're at 65. And it's already starting to fall apart for me, partially because of the pressure of the camera. That happens. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I'm going to dial it back a little bit and practice this once the camera's off. But some things that I've noticed about this. First of all, there is a tendency when you're doing this to kind of, for lack of a better term, there's kind of a tendency to get to a place where you make a mistake and you try to speed up to catch back up with it. It's best to finish the 4 count, in my experience, and go back to 0. So avoid the tendency to try to catch it. It's better to stop cold and then resynchronize yourself with the beat, at least if you're doing this kind of practice. It's also good to, once you're comfortable at a certain speed, and you can start this really slow if you want to. Once you're comfortable at a certain speed, you can kind of focus on your breathing and let a smaller and smaller portion of your mind focus on the metronome. And really low speeds are good for this. There's also a tendency to, once it gets fast, neglect the discipline of keeping fingers on strings. What I find myself doing as I get faster, and you probably saw me doing it, was this, where I'm index, thumb, and then I'll double my index again on the highest string. So that time I did it right. I used my middle finger. That low speed is ideal for refining the things that you tend to just kind of glide on by when you're going faster, the discipline of having your fingers on the right strings, the discipline of having your hand anchored, the discipline of looking at the strings for a while, making sure you're on the right ones, and then trying to do it by feel, just looking up. That I'm not one of these guitarists who says you should never look at the strings. I think looking at the strings is valuable to orient yourself, but I'm also actively developing the skill of not looking at the strings, and I think that's important. As for my strummy stuff, I've been working a lot on certain chord transitions that give me trouble. A big one for me is anything, and this comes up in quite a few songs, where you're kind of in G. Then you go to a B minor. Often I can get my fingers that aren't the bar in position fast enough to make that transition at speed, but the bar takes a second longer. So the cheat that I have come up with, and I think it's more of a technique than a cheat, is this, where let's say I'm G, and then I'll just hit the strings where the bar doesn't matter as I get it in place. You can see there that I'm not getting my bar there in time, but it almost doesn't matter because I'm still sounding those notes that the other fingers are getting. So you still get a B minor-y sound, even if you don't have the B note there. I found that very valuable. That's something I've been using as kind of a stopgap. I would eventually like to get to the place where I can go straight from G into B minor. And one of the things I've experimented with is kind of doing the bar first and then bringing my finger into position. It results in a much cleaner chord too, but I can't do it fast enough to play a song yet. I'll be there soon. Something I've been working on every day. I have been playing the House of the Rising Sun a lot, and I don't know if I explained this in a previous video or not, but there is a tradition in certain circles in Reformed Christianity. We're talking about Luther, Calvin, Presbyterians, Lutherans, Anglicans to an extent. There is a tradition from the 17th century of kind of a reaction to what was seen as Catholic decadence. The beautiful hymns that people played in cathedrals were seen by some Protestants as, worldly and decadent and taking glory away from God. So what they started doing is singing only the Psalms. And of course, since the average person didn't know, ancient Hebrew or Koine Greek, what they would do is come up with metrical translations, where they would take a psalm and they would put it in English that rhymed and had the right number of syllables for each line. So that way you could learn the tune of a few songs in what was called common meter. That's like Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound, 6 syllables that saved a wretch like, I'm sorry, 8 syllables. And it would go 8-6, 8-6, 8-6. That was called common meter. So if you knew a few songs or tunes, whether they were originally hymns or originally folk songs or popular songs or drinking songs even, that had that meter, you could have an entire congregation sing a psalm together if it was properly translated into English. So I've been doing I've been using House of the Rising Sun because it's a fun song to play. And it can be as strummy or as picky as you want. It's kind of like an A minor, C, E, and so on. It's a fun song to play. It's a song that you can really dig into. It can be an emotional song, and it works great for singing other things over because you can practice it in a loop. So I've been playing that a lot lately and using that to really to pray, frankly. So that's something I've been working on. I am going to get more disciplined about doing at least one video a week here. And I think either today or tomorrow, I'm going to do my 1 year retrospective where I talk about the whole learning process, what I've learned in my first year, what I would do differently, what I would recommend to beginners, and so on. So thank you very much for watching. You have a wonderful day.